guys, what's up? It's Shelby and welcome back to my channel. So today is another midweek mysteries and makeup video. Yeah, that's all I have to say. So let's get into it. Today's look is inspired by Sabrina Kathleen, and this is it. I'm gonna change it up a little bit because I'm not as talented as this, but that's kind of what I'm going for. Today we do actually have a mystery case. I know I haven't really been doing mysteries, I've been doing solved ones, but it is what it is. Today we're going to be talking about Anthonette Cayedito, I believe is how you pronounce it. And I always want to say Antoinette, but it's not, it's Anthonette. She was born on Christmas Day in 1976, so December 25th. And she was 9 years old when she disappeared. So let's go ahead and talk about her a little bit more. She lived with her mom, Penny Cayedito, I believe is, again, how you say it. I'm probably not saying it right, but she lived with her mother and her two younger half-siblings. So I don't think they have the same dad, but I think they have the same mom is kind of what I'm getting at, because she was living by herself. She had two younger siblings named Wendy and Sadie. Her mom was divorced to Anthonette's dad, Anthony, and I don't believe Anthonette got to see her dad often, because I didn't see her dad mentioned at all really in this case. So lived in Gallup, New Mexico. All three of the girls were, or four of the girls were very, very close. You know, the mom and then the three girls were all very close. They were even, they said that all three of them slept in, all three of the girls would sleep in Penny's bed with Penny, their mother, quite frequently. Anthonette was very mature for her age. At 9, she would do housework. She would watch the girls like she was her second mom. She was very independent, pretty much, is kind of what I'm getting at. Her family was, they all were quite religious. They, you know, went to church quite often and all of that. But overall, she was a very well-rounded young girl. She was very kind and smart and nice and outgoing and very well behaved, so it was really odd when, you know, things went downhill for her. We are going to skip to April 5th, 1986. Penny had left the three girls with a babysitter that night to go out to a local bar with a couple of her friends to kind of have a little girls' night. And she came home at about midnight and sent the babysitter home, and she stayed up till like, I don't know, like 2, 3 in the morning or so, talking to Anthonette, her oldest, before all 4 of them, I keep wanting to say 3 because I know there's 3 girls, but all 4 of the girls went up to bed, and they all pretty much just fell asleep in Penny's room in her bed. So the next morning, Penny got the 2 girls up. She noticed that Anthonette was not there, but it wasn't unusual because Anthonette would sometimes make breakfast early for all of them. She would, or maybe she was, you know, in the bathroom or something. It wasn't unusual, so her mom didn't think too much of it. So she got the other girls ready really quick, and then she went to go search the house. This was on the 6th. She went to go search the rest of the house for Anthonette, but she couldn't find her. That is when she went to go outside, when she noticed that the door was unlocked and the like safety screen was like unlatched, and she knew that she like latched them and locked the door before they went to bed that night. So that was a little odd. So she went outside and, you know, asked the neighbors if they had seen her, or if they were over, you know, playing outside, or if she was checking the mail maybe or something, but none of the neighbors really said that she saw her. But one of the neighbors' dogs had just gone missing, and so she kind of thought that maybe she was out looking, because all of the kids in the neighborhood were going to help look for the dog, so maybe she got up early and did that. But the neighbor whose dog it was said that Anthonette was not part of the search. She didn't see her that morning, so that is when she really got worried and called the cops to report her missing. The cops took this very seriously. They didn't just take it as a runaway because they realized that this was a little 9-year-old girl who pretty much went missing from her home. So they put it as an abduction right away and started a search and everything for her. But 2 days into the search, they called it off because there was literally no evidence or sight of her at all. It was literally like she disappeared. There was no trace of her anywhere. And they knew it was an abduction because, like, if it wasn't, by the time the cops were called, like, a family member or a friend would call and be in communications like, hey, no, she's here, like, don't worry, it's all good. But nothing of the sorts happened like that. The cops interviewed everybody, all of, like, the neighbors. They interviewed all of the Cayedito family, which was quite a big family actually. So there was quite a lot of interviews happening, and that's when a neighbor came out and said that that night or that morning, between 6:30 and 7, she saw a brown truck pull up to the Cayedito house, get out and knock on the door, but she didn't really think much of it because, like I said, they had quite a big family, so she figured it was just one of their family members or something, and she just went on with her business. But the family said that they didn't know anybody in the family that owned a brown truck. The police talked to some of the boys in the area that were friends with her. They were about 9 to 11, and they had talked to them to see if she had talked to them that morning, or, you know, see if they knew anything or who it might be, if she was talking to anybody or what. And then that's when a 62-year-old man came into the picture. The boys had said that he was sexually abusing the boys leading up to the months leading up to his arrest, but when they were asked, you know, if Anthonette could be part of it, they said no, because anytime that the boys would go, no girls were allowed. It was just boys. So that kind of fell through. This case quickly went cold because, like I said, there was virtually no leads. Nobody was coming forward. There was no sightings. There was no evidence of anything really that they could go off of. So the case went cold up until a year later when the Gallup Police Department received a phone call. You can look up this phone call, and it is pretty sad. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna play it, but I will tell you what it said. So they got a phone call. In the phone call, you can hear a little girl. She sounds pretty frantic and scared. And she is saying, I'm Anthonette Cayedito, and I'm in Albuquerque, and you know, saying that it was her, and the operator was trying to ask her, you know, where she was in, you know, this area. But that is when you can hear a voice in the background saying, who said that you could use the phone. Then you can hear the little girl screaming, and the call ended. The call was not long enough to be able to trace back to a certain point, but the police thought that that she was now in Albuquerque somewhere with somebody. But the weird thing about this phone call is it was not made to 911. It was made to the actual Gallup Police Department. A lot of people wonder how this could happen, but like if she saw it on like the news or something, usually it'll put like a number to call for, you know, any information and stuff. So maybe she saw that number, had a free opportunity, and called, and then it went downhill, you know. That's kind of what I think would happen if it was actually her. They can't confirm if it was or not, but her mom did come out and say that that sounds just like my daughter, like that is her. But like I said, they can't necessarily say it really was her or not because they can't trace it back or anything. But her mom did come out and say that it sounds just like her. By like the way she said her last name and the way that she screamed, she just knew it was Anthonette. So, but after this, the case went cold again for 4 more years. So now it has been 5 years. In 1991, a waitress in Nevada. So we started in New Mexico and we're all the way up into Nevada now. A waitress at a little restaurant called the police, saying that she thinks she just served Anthonette Cayedito. She describes it being this couple came in with or it was an unkept, she said an unkept couple came in with a teenager around the age of 13 or 14, which is how old she would be now. And she thought it was really strange because the little girl that she was serving, or she wasn't little, I guess, the teenager she was serving, kept dropping her utensils on the floor. So the waitress would come over, pick them up for her, and set them on the table. And when she would set them back on the table, the girl would grab her hand and squeeze it. And she felt very uneasy about this, which I think anybody would. And she said she matched the description of Anthonette. That's why she called why she called Gallup Police Department. And she said the couple ate and then they left. So she went up to go clean the table that they were at when she found a note under the plate that the girl was sitting at, and the note was written on a piece of a napkin, and it said, "Help me, call the police." So it was kind of alarming to her. So that's what she did. It couldn't be confirmed, the sighting couldn't be confirmed that it was her, but it was enough for them to be able to reopen the case and look into it more. So now that the case was reopened, everybody was re-interviewed. All the neighbors, everybody in her family, and all of that were re-investigated almost. Like I said, they were all re-talked to, and now it was 5 years later. So her younger sister, Wendy, was now 5 years old. And this is when she started to remember a little bit more. So pretty much when they first interviewed her, she had just said that she was asleep. She didn't know what happened. But now, 5 years later, she's coming forward to the police after they are re-investigating, saying that she remembers more details, which isn't uncommon, but it's also a little suspicious to me, but that's just me. Anyways, so she had come out and said now that at about 3 in the morning, they heard a knock on the door, and the only person awake was Anthonette, and I guess Wendy. So Anthonette went down to go open the door and see who it was. When Wendy followed, she wanted to go see what was going on, and she said when she did, Anthonette had called out to ask who it was. The reply from the other side of the door was a man saying it was Uncle Joe. They did, in fact, have a Uncle Joe, so Anthonette opened the door for this man, thinking it was her Uncle Joe on the other side. Wendy says when she opened the door, 2 men were standing there, and they grabbed her. She was kicking and screaming, and they pulled her out of the house, got into a tan van, and then drove off. So the police asked her, what took you? Like, why didn't you come up with this before? Like, why are you saying this now? And she said she was scared when she was younger to say it. She thought she was going to get in trouble, and that's why she didn't come forward earlier. So Wendy couldn't really give a full description of the men that she saw because it had been like 5 years now. So she couldn't give a full description on what the men look like or anything like that. And a lot of people don't really believe her because, like, it's been 5 years. Why now? But the police did believe her, and they put it, that together. Like I said, she did in fact have a Uncle Joe, so they re-interviewed him. They had already interviewed him once, but now he was kind of their key suspect. But Joe did have a solid alibi, so he was let off. They looked into possible sightings all over the place. There was actually one sighting, I can't remember where, but this teacher had gotten a student who had never been enrolled in another school, and he said that she looked like Anthonette, so he kind of looked into it, but I guess she was just a foreign exchange student, so nothing came of that really. Police were getting really suspicious of the Cayedito family now, and they were trying to look more into them, but not a lot came out of it. They actually did polygraph Penny, and her test came out inconclusive, and she refused to take a second test. A lot of people think she rigged it. There's a lot of ways to make it inconclusive, like doing drugs, drinking alcohol the night before. That's why they say don't, because it can mess with the test. So a lot of people think that she's got something to hide, and that's why she made sure that it was inconclusive. People, and I guess the police, like, were getting suspicious, like I said, about the family. Like, now Wendy's coming out and saying this and stuff, and, like, how did the abductor know to say that it was her Uncle Joe, and that would, like, be able to open the door for her? So whoever abducted her had to have known the family well enough to know that. And also, how did they know that it was going to be her opening the door and not her mom? It was 3 o'clock in the morning. How did they know that it was going to be Anthonette and not Penny? That leads us to our second one, being that it was staged, that Penny actually knew that this was going to happen, that she kind of set it up to happen. So that's why she kind of stayed asleep. Or maybe, what I think, maybe she told Anthonette to go answer the door because she was tired or something, and was like, hey, like, there's a knock on the door, go open it. And so she did, and then, that's what happened. A lot of people do think it was a random attack, that nobody knew it was gonna happen, but I don't know, it just seems a little bit suspicious to me to be random like that, The reason why people think it was a little bit, why it was kind of weird, was because of the fact that the door was unlocked. And why would he, if it was a random abduction, why would you knock at the door? I mean, they didn't have a high-tech security system. They could have just came in to the house, like, broken in somehow, but they knocked on the door. That's what a lot of people find suspicious, is that if they were gonna abduct her, like I said, how did they know it wasn't gonna be one of the other girls? How did they know it wasn't gonna be Penny? They, knew it was gonna be her, which is odd, This one we're going to get into is sex trafficking. They think maybe her mom sold her to somebody, because that would explain why she, another thing too about, it being random, she didn't wake up to the knock, she didn't wake up to her screaming or anything, she just slept through it all. I don't know. Maybe she knew, like I said, she knew this was gonna happen, so maybe she, sold them to somebody, and so she knew this was gonna happen. Maybe she told Anthonette, hey, go answer the door really quick. She told the men to say, say your Uncle Joe, because she'll open the door for him, and all of that. And maybe that's why Wendy was so scared to come forward before, because her mom, she kind of knew, her mom warned her, she found out, that Wendy saw it, and she was like, oh, don't say anything or you'll be next, or this, something like that, along those lines. And it's also rumored, this isn't proven, it was rumored that Penny actually bought a brand new sports car, a week after her abduction. And like I said, they weren't rich. They weren't, poor poverty, struggling, but they didn't have that extra cash to be buying, sports car type cars, I don't know if that's true or not. That was just something that was rumored around. Another theory that I didn't really see too much about, but I kind of think maybe the babysitter. Like I said, there was a babysitter that night, and maybe she kind of was a little suspicious, and she knew a couple guys that she could get money off of if she could find somebody for them to abduct. And she was like, hey, I got 3 girls right here. Her mom just came home from a bar. Maybe her mom was a little tipsy or whatever, said, hey, there's these 2 girls here, or there's these 3 young girls here, and their mom is a little tipsy. a little drunk, come over in a couple more hours when they're asleep, knock on the door. Maybe she knew that they would have, maybe she knew about their Uncle Joe and said, hey, like, say your Uncle Joe, they'll let you in. And maybe that's what happened. I think that could be a very big possibility that I don't see a lot of people looking into. I don't know if the babysitter was ever talked to, but I feel like that could be a really big possibility. You never really know. But let me know what you guys think happened to Anthonette, and yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. All of my social medias are down below, as well as my vlog channel. And yeah, bye guys.